Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video, let's have one React interview question, that is the auto increment counter. So as you can see, we have the auto increment counter which starts from 0 and auto increments its value after a certain delay. So how to have this? So let's start our video. So it is going to be a very simple video, and I already have the CSS part, as I'm assuming that if you have come for the React interview question, you might be already knowing the CSS part well. So I don't want to waste your time. So let's start with our video. So I'll be using a shortcut, that is RAFCE, to have our functional component. So let us just quickly create the layout for our auto increment counter. So I'll be using React fragments, and then I'll be having a div with a class name as simply container and h1 to give the heading as auto increment counter, then simply a p tag that will hold the value of count. So let's assume initially the value as 0. Let us give this a class name as counter, and let me import my CSS file, that is auto increment.css. So we have the layout complete. So now let's move on to the functionalities. And here I want a dynamic value. And how to have dynamic values in React? Yes, I need a useState hook. So let us import that. And let's have our state variable as count and a function, that is set count. So this function will update the value of this state variable count. And let's give the initial value as 0. Now let's use this count state variable instead of this hard-coded value with a curly brace and the count. So now we have this. Now we can change this. Let me show you the change. So see, now we have the control. So now we only need to increment its value, like the counter value. So how to do that? We'll be needing a useEffect hook. So let's import that also. So we have the useEffect hook, and I'll be using an empty dependency array. It means whatever function I will provide here inside the useEffect, I want that function to run only once after the initial render. It means when I first refresh the page, whatever I will write here, I want that thing to run only once. That's why I have this empty dependency array. And now inside this, I want something that will auto increment the value of this after certain delay. And I can achieve this using set interval. Yes, you heard it right. So whatever we will write inside this set interval will keep on running after some delay that we will provide here. So what we need to do, we need to increment this value. So simply we will take this state variable, the function that will update the value of this. So set count, simply previous value. So now this value will be holding the value of this count, that will be 0. So now we have the 0 here in this previous value. We simply need to update this by 1. So as you can see, it is incrementing like very fast independently. We don't want this, right? Let me give the delay. That would be like, suppose after every 1 second you want. So now you will see that after every 1 second, it will increment the value of this count. And there is one more thing. In React, you must have a cleanup performed for the set interval, set timeout and all to have performance optimization. So how you will do? You will simply have, first you will simply need to store this set interval in some variable so that you can have the cleanup performed. So let's give the name of variable as interval. So now this interval variable is holding this complete set interval. To have cleanup performed, we need to return an anonymous function and simply this clear interval and the interval that will be the variable that is holding the set interval. So as you can see now, the counter is getting incremented after every 1 second, but it keeps on incrementing like indefinitely. And suppose if the interviewer asks you to stop this value of this count at some point of time, or maybe stop this value at 10 or maybe 20. So how you will do? So you need to have a slight change here. Here you need to add an if else condition, like if the previous value is less than 10, then only increment that previous value would be simply +1 and return that value. And in the else part, simply we need to clear the interval. At that time, the value would have already reached 10. So clear interval with the variable that is holding the set interval. And again, we need to simply return the previous value. So now you will see that auto increment counter increments its value after every 1 second and it will stop at 10. And suppose the interviewer asks you to stop this value at 20, you can change that accordingly. So let us have a quick review. So initially we have this useEffect. Inside this useEffect, we have the set interval, which is taking the initial value of count that is 0, and it's checking for the condition like less than 10. If the value is less than 10, it will keep on incrementing the value after every 1 second. As soon as it reaches the 10, it will stop, it will clear the interval. So yes, that's it for this video. I hope you understood this in a much better way. So see you all in the next one. Till then, take care.